nothing inside. It's an old synagogue, built about 150, even later, 150 years ago. So you can see the big windows of the main praying hall. There were 40 synagogues in Kaunas. Many of them survived. They are abandoned today. There is one active synagogue, only one active synagogue in Kaunas. And here you can see the size of the building, and you can see the nice roof of it. And we are in the courtyard, so synagogues were not allowed to build on the main streets. Synagogues and non-Catholic temples. Now from here we can see the roof of the cathedral. So from the cathedral to the synagogue it's about 5 minutes walk. So we spoke about different phases of Kaunas. So we were in the Catholic Church, we were on the town hall, and this is another phase of Kaunas, the Jewish heritage and the hidden synagogues, the hidden gems of Kaunas history, which are still available for us today. Daukšos Street. Daukša was a writer, Lithuanian writer, and this little corner of that street there is a recently renovated old building which has a little bit of Jewish heritage and history. In this building, the sign says that in this building was the first championship of table tennis of Lithuania organized by sports club Makabi. It took place in 1927. So a lot of sport organizations, a lot of political organizations, a lot of vibrant Jewish life here up until the Second World War, up until the Holocaust. Another phase of Kaunas, another identity of Kaunas is a Russian history. Lithuania was part of Russian Empire for more than 120 years, the whole of the 19th century. So here on the wall we can see the new painted plaster, but there is a piece of an old plaster, and it has inscription in Cyrillic, in Russian language. It says Magazin kolonialnych towarów, which means the shop of imported goods. Now, how do we know that it's old Russian and not new Russian? There are symbols which are not used in nowadays Russian language. So, as you see, there is a lot of history and heritage and hidden things even under the plaster of the buildings. Today people don't read books. Actually also quite a strange statement, but today people read from the iPhones. Here I'm sitting on a chair which is part of the complex of a statue and memorial in honor of Abraham Mapu, a Jewish writer. He stands on a chair, who was a very tall man. Mapu was born in Kaunas in early 1800s, 1809 if I remember right. He was a teacher. He lived in the neighborhood of Slobodka and taught at school. At the age of 42 he wrote his first book. It was a biblical novel. The uniqueness was that he wrote in Hebrew, in a biblical Hebrew, not a modern Hebrew, as at that time it was a way before Hebrew language was renewed by Eliezer ben Yehuda. His second book he wrote when he was 49 years old, and then another book. And the novel, which is called The Hypocrite, is very relevant even nowadays, because Mapu describes in that novel the conflict between the Enlightenment movement and the older generation who pull the rope to their side, and they say no to the younger people who wanted to study in general schools and who wanted to integrate into general society. Now this building was a library, was a Jewish library, and it was named by Abraham Mapu, one of the several Jewish libraries in Kaunas. Also in that library there was organization of Jewish soldiers who participated in the war of Lithuanian independence. Also, a very interesting story of relations between Lithuanians and Jews after the First World War. There was a lot of respect and communal support, and the Jews actually, they always were supportive of Lithuanian independence and Lithuanian national identity, as they themselves never had their, no, not never, but for a long time didn't have their own state, and they had a lot of empathy to Lithuanians who lost their independence after the third partition of Poland. So from Mapu Street we crossed the central street, Vilnius Street, and we turned to another narrow side street of Kaunas. It has a name of Ludwig Zaminhov. He is famous for inventing Esperanto language. He was born in Bialystok, not far from here, about 250 kilometers south from Kaunas. He was born after Mapu. He was born when Mapu died in 1867. Zamenhof lived in a multinational society. His father was a teacher of a German language, and Zamenhof from the very early years realized that people fight each other, and there are a lot of tensions and misunderstandings, and his liberal idea and futuristic idea was that if people would speak the same language, this could improve their relations and reduce the tensions. So by being a teenager, he invented a language. He wrote a book, Dr. Hope, Dr. Esperanto, and later on this book was rewritten and published with the name My Language. So there are close to, according to encyclopedia, between 500,000 and 2 million people today in the world who have connection with the Esperanto language. So his idea didn't succeed. We don't speak Esperanto, but there are people who keep this idea alive. Now these two houses, number 9 and number 7 on Zamanhof Street, they belong to the Jewish community. This was a school, and this was a synagogue. And you can see that there is no middle window on the building, the big arched windows, and the central window is closed, is blocked. So this is the place for the arch, for Aron HaKodesh. Now these two institutions were supported by Avram Nevarsky, one of the wealthy Jews who lived here in Kaunas. It is very nice when people in the city have a good sense of humor. So definitely in Kaunas people do have. Here on the corner of two streets there is a very important memorial. Looks like entrance to the sewage. You see that little round thing on top, but it says that here on this place on May 11th 2014 nothing particular happened. Kaunas has a lot of faces, and the Jewish face and the Jewish identity is very strong, as well as the Jewish education. In the early 20th century there were 4 major Jewish schools and a number of smaller ones. This brown building is one of such schools. In this building from 1927, but originally this school was established during the First World War in 1915. It was 11 years education, 3 years a primary school and 8 years of a gymnasium. It's in local language a high school, and they taught here in Hebrew. There were most of the Jewish schools in Kaunas were in Hebrew, and only one was in Yiddish, and one was in Lithuanian language. Here you can see a sign on the wall in honor of Leah Goldberg, a Hebrew poetess who studied in this school, later on studied in Kaunas University, emigrated to Israel and became a legend of Hebrew literature, poetry, education, translations and so on and so forth. Till nowadays even young singers, they re-sing Leah Goldberg's songs, and she is very well known and very well remembered in Israel. We are getting closer to the central street of Kaunas, to the symbolic street, the Freedom Boulevard. And here you can see the art center. It keeps the collection of Lithuanian and foreign art, which was donated by a wealthy Lithuanian businessman, Žilinskas, and this gallery has his name. Now on this square you will see in a second an impressive temple, a Russian Orthodox church, which was built by the end of the 19th century in order to try to make Russian Orthodoxy into a dominant religion in Lithuania. By the end of the 19th century, Russians ruled Lithuania, and there was a process of Russification. So here is a temple. As there are very few Russians in Kaunas, Kaunas is a very Lithuanian city. Today, this temple is a Catholic one. And we turn into Freedom Boulevard, in Lithuanian language Laisvės alėja, one of the most thriving and beautiful streets of Kaunas, with lots of restaurants and coffee shops and museums and galleries and whatever you want you can find here, and also some memorials. So this boulevard has two rows of trees, and once upon a time on this street there were cars driving around and there was a tram driving around, but today all this area, more than 1 kilometer length, is a pedestrian street, very clean, very friendly, very young. If you look to the sides, you see lots of young people. So really a pleasure to be here, to have a stroll in the evening. So if you come to Kaunas, you cannot miss this place. Now the people sit outside, it's already summertime in Lithuania. And here we see an alternative memorial. It is in honor of Jan Zvartendyk, the consul, the Dutch consul, who was involved in who saved the Jews in Kaunas in 1940. He actually not saved them directly, but he helped them to leave Kaunas.
So we're in the main pedestrian avenue, the Laisvės Avenue, and this is a central place, so you will see many people walking and taking rest in this place. And here we have some significant places, some of those historical places, and here you're seeing the building that before the war was a restaurant, very famous restaurant, that called Metropolis. In this restaurant sing very popular Lithuanian singer Daniel Dolski. Daniel Dolski, he born in Kaunas, but he managed to run when was World War I, and he returned to this place after the war. He very liked to sing, and he take very clever thing. He translate all the popular schlagers all over the world to Lithuanian language. He hardly know Lithuanian language, but he spoke with some even dialect, some accent, but very nice sound. And he started to sing those songs, and he became very, very, very popular singer. So we may say that Daniel Dolski, he was a founder of Lithuanian pop music, and today this name may tell for everyone. Unfortunately, in the age, very early age, he died from the pneumonia.
Eternal flame in honor of people, Lithuanian soldiers who lost their lives during the War of Independence, 1920. Here you can see statues of Lithuanians who tributed to the War of Independence. Some of them were military people, some of them were civilians, mostly Lithuanian intelligentsia, writers, lawyers, and social activists. From the past, we turn to the museum by the name of Vytautas the Great. It's a war museum. Inside it, in my mind, the most attractive exposition is the parts of the plane Lituanica, a small plane with which two Lithuanian pilots, Darius and Girenas, took a flight from New York in 1933. They almost reached Vilnius. They almost reached Kaunas. But unfortunately, the plane was shot by unknown initiative on the border of Poland and Germany. So they both were killed in an air accident. From the past and the history and the War Museum, we come to see another identity of Kaunas, the modern life. Offices, skating arena for youngsters, and Kaunas University. Kaunas lost a lot of its population after the collapse of Soviet Union. As it was an industrial city, a lot of factories were closed and a lot of people left. From 500,000, the population of Kaunas shrank to 250,000. Today, it's a recovering young city with new developments, with infrastructure, with a free economic zone around the city, and this causes very strong development, and you can see life, light, space, beautiful young people, kids playing around, and really pleasant to be here. Kaunas University is on the other side of the road. It's the second large university in the city, with a lot of faculties attracting people from other countries, from Arab countries, from Israel, from Poland and other people. And so about 20,000 students studying in different languages, and they all rent their apartments here in the central part, and the bars and the pubs, everything is for them. And also this fountain is also made for them. It's not so hot now, but I can try and cross through the fountain. A little bit wet, but it's all right.